Howdy, I'm Nick and this is London Creative, and today I am finally getting around to painting this little figure that I've had for absolutely months. I painted the giant and the dragon out of these pieces that were larger. I've also painted some of these smaller pieces. I did a test painting of that the other day, which I actually think is probably one of my better pieces I've painted in the really small. But today we're going to paint this. I have a number of paints of varying types. These are not as good. The Arteza paints are way stronger, way more pigmenty, really much nicer. I've primed it, black primer, put this super duper close-up glasses on, and I'm thinking there's a number of skulls and things. I think what I'm going to do first is pick out all of the flesh and the skulls, but it's this that's the important bit. If it's a cloak, whatever it is, they're going to be different colours. I'm going to paint each strand different. Really involved and very detailed. I really needed to make up a story for this character because it's so involved. Tellerman! Tellerman! The shouts woke me. Damn it, I berated myself for falling asleep. The stone half glowed softly and low, and the heat filled the room, even though the heat wasn't needed. But the fire kept the pot warm. I rubbed my eyes and focused on the warm flickering light and pushed a hand to the armrest and forced my legs to straighten. Stretching, I stood and moved slowly and carefully away from the rocking chair and the fireplace towards the door. I pulled at the latch as more cries sounded, and opening the top half of the old door emitted more cries and more light of the late afternoon. I rested my elbows on the bottom half of the door and leaned out. Bodies rushed past, eager to get sight of the newcomer, dressed in work clothes, old aprons and trousers with patches, shirts that frayed at the collar or cuff, dresses that had faded the bright colours of new to muted shades. "Tellerman is back!" one of the street vendors called across the open paved street at me as he moved with more determination than haste. I simply waved him on, as if to usher him along with more speed, and then I moved, taking my time and pulling at the half-open door. The old latch creaked in the wooden beam. I let the panels slam with a determined thump and set off after the last of them. The town had grown steadily over my time here, a good place that I figured would prosper and remain long after me. At the open square that usually housed a couple of shops and eateries, a few wanderers, and those playing at some board or other. The space filled with maybe 100, all crowding around the man, all eager for more towels, for wares, and more of anything he had to offer. I moved through the children and mothers, the mason and the cooper, the smiths and the miners and the market traders. All seemed to have abandoned their tasks in favour of the man before me. "Tellerman!" My voice sounded rusty, even to me, little used these days. The traveller wore a yellow, strong, wide-brimmed type of straw hat with a red ribbon about the band, and more importantly, shrouded a face that was little seen. As he looked about at the faces before him, none saw clearly the eyes that guarded beneath the cap, for in his hand he held a red stave attached to a curiosity, a mask of white and red halves. About his body, the usual attire, a heavy cowl of thick fur, brown and tan, grey and black, covered his shoulders and chest, and sat atop a cloak of colours, various, red and yellow, purple and mauve, blue and gold, silver and white, tasselled streaks draped down his back. But it was more the interior that marvelled those who sought him out on a hot day. As the sun beat down over his sun-kissed hat and shaded his face, he lifted a tanned hand and revealed the source of the entertainment. Hanging from loops and fastenings on the inner lining of the heavy cloak were an assortment of things, faces of making in the shape of man and dog, of him and of her, but also of no one. Items which miners and shell finders alike prized. The masks he carried these days savoured for their magic, usefulness and mystery. At the opening of the long cape sat a pair of the marvellous faceless faces, pipes running from the nose in gaudy gold and looped and fastened tight upon bottles of black, smooth shells, and inside the potion of air, pure, cold, and clean. The swimmers of the deep and the searchers of the caves alike wore these faces, and travelled further thanks to Tellerman's protections. One of the workers held his worn mask up to the wanderer, and it was taken, disconnected, and replaced without question, but also without payment or barter. The man in the colours simply changed the bottle and tucked away the depleted one, as he did each time he appeared, and the trades hurriedly exchanged. When the new faces were gone, the rest moved in, children taking seats on the cobbles despite the hot floor, and sitting eager to listen. "Questions first," said the voice from deep within the brim upon his head. "Where you come from?" a high-toned young voice cried. "Why, here, my friend, as I've said before." Indeed, many remembered the question before, and it was a waste of the few permitted. Many groaned at the use of one of the allowed 6. It had only been 5 times before that the peddler had appeared in the town square, and each time the same rules had applied. The first time, none believed his products, his potions and his salves, his remedies and towels. He simply said, as he always did, "I can but offer you these solutions. I suggest you try them. But if you do not like them, then that is for you to choose. I ask nothing for them. I will gladly take something if it is given, but I ask nothing. So here, take it, try it, and if it doesn't suit you, then give it back next time. That is all I request. If it is an ointment or a cream, then that cannot be returned. But the pot, jar, or container, I will collect from you." Then they asked him this and that, what and where, why and how. For the items he explained in detail, but the personal and puzzlements he announced, "I can but be among you a short time, and request just a few inquiries. Say 6, shall we?" Now he was taking the questions. "How far have I travelled today?" "Not far, as I state. I am from here, so I have not moved my feet much at all." I raised my voice over the gabble. "When did you set off this day?" "Just a while ago. I had arranged my wares for you, so I was a little delayed." Indeed, his appearance was well past the time of his last visit, but the wares were indeed more than those when he first came. "How do you make all these things?" asked the cobbler, looking at a tool he had just been given that shone bright and new in his gnarled old knuckles. "I simply acquire them, buy them, find them, apprise them in different ways for you." His answers were never short, but they often lacked the full answer. "Why?" The inn owner's voice rose sweet and soundly over the crowd. "Ah, a curious question, and one I'd ask, why what?" The rich tones replied, sounding intrigued and entertained. "Why do you acquire these things if you will take nothing for them? It is not soundly to buy without making off of them," she clarified. "Ah, the mind of a businessman or woman. No, it would not. That is true. But it is not always about making a profit. Sometimes it's just about making people happy, or making their lives that little bit easier. Finding new solutions for the cobbler to cut leather, or the divers to breathe longer. It is something I can help with, and it makes you happier, so it makes me happier. Isn't that worth it?"
"How do you know how to make these things, or buy these tools, when we have no knowledge of them until you share them with us?"
asked the barrel maker across the far side of the crowd.
"Ah, that. Now that is a question. A good question. I come from a place where these things are solved and where they are easily remedied." "But you just said you came from here,"
another young voice shouted. The mysterious man turned to the voice, and with a smile in these words, he pointed a finger at the face and stated,
"So I did."
Mutters of confusion buzzed through the crowd.
"Now, that's today's questions. I think I have time for a tale, but not here. Shall we find a seat, somewhere out of the sun, and then I must be off, shall we?"
He waved a hand towards the inn at the far end of the square, and the crowd started to move, chatting, talking, murmuring, and studying the new items handed out. Tellerman did not move until all the people were in motion, all except me. I let the wave part around me, watching them adjust and collect themselves. And then, as he made his first steps, I spoke. When? His head tilted to regard me from under the wide brim, the mask gone, but the face still shrouded and shaded, and I saw eyes bright and gleaming. The head tilt indicated he was puzzled for more details, so I expanded. If you say you are from here, and yet no one knows you, and you know how to make a better leather cutter, a stronger hammer, or masks to breathe underwater, then I would ask, when do you come from? He hesitated in his walk for a breath, and then the answer he gave was full and true. The brim pushed higher with a single finger, and the face behind showed the answer as much as the words. We walked slowly, with limps and hobbles, with determination, but with slowness. We followed the crowd as they set up outside the inn, ready for the teller. He spoke quietly, but honestly, and he suggested we not give away our new shared secret to anyone else. But my knowledge caught him off guard, and his sharing caught me, and now Tellerman's secret is shared with me, and mine with him. I mean, it seemed only fair that, given he, like me, came from there. This is Tellerman, ladies and gentlemen. He's something out of nothing. It's a simple little statue that I'd had for some time and painted. And as I painted, I thought of who he was and what he means to me, and we end up with Tellerman. And when I even started, I didn't even realise just how many faces and how many bits there are and so forth. Yeah, I hope you liked this video, and I hope it was entertaining, fun, and all of that. If it was, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know suggestions of things to paint, to make, to build, to break, to burn. You know, whatever. Give me suggestions. So if you want to see more art and creativity, more painting, models, making things, building things, burning stuff, breaking stuff, setting fire to things, you know, the usual, then you should hit subscribe down there and come back each week for something new and different. Now, I'm going to go and feed the dog. See you soon. Bye. If you're not already and you want to see more art in and around London, the door just slammed shut, it's a ghost. More in and about, roundabout, more out and about, wrong channel.